Why, hello, gentlemen. Inglewood here with Killing Esports. I'm going to cast a game of StarCraft 2 for you. This is a PvZ on Cloud Kingdom. Our pink Protoss spawning in the southwest position is named MrFukutu, and he's going to square off against the blue Zerg in the northeast corner, Comadiroma. Comadiroma. I don't know what kind of name that is. Comadiroma. I like that one better. So nothing cheesy coming out of these players so far, like I like to see. Looks like good normal standard starts. The Zerg hits 10 supply real quickly. He's working on a drone. He's going to supply block himself for a little bit. That's not necessarily the best opening to do as a Zerg. We'll see if he might make 2 extractors and then cancel them to get out 2 more drones. Okay, so he's going to do it with 1. There's the 1 Zerg extractor trick. So he knows what he's doing, sort of. His Overlord's going to poke out and check out his enemy's base. Meanwhile, MrFukutu's going to scout with his own probe. Looks like back at home he dropped down 1 pylon at his expansion to do a wall off here to take a quick second base. So he's going to be going a bit economically greedy. We'll see if he actually gets his base up before his opponent. I doubt it, but we'll see. They're both getting close to that time of the money. The Zerg, not producing anything, just got up to 200 minerals, so he's doing spawning pool first. He was probably pretty safe to take a expansion before spawning pool, but he's decided to go a little defensive, and in doing so he's allowed MrFukutu some time to come down here and block the expansion if he chooses to. So we'll see. He might just try and keep this probe here to keep the drone from getting into position to make a base, or he might actually spend 100 minerals and throw down a pylon to block it. So they're going to duke it out here for a minute. And there goes the pylon. But he's going to lose his life, so that's a bummer. He didn't intend to do that, so he spends 100 minerals to block this, and he also loses his 50 mineral probe. So bummer for him. But back at home, he's expanding, so what does he care? He did actually get it up before his opponent, which is uncommon. You don't usually see Protoss getting their second before the Zerg, so good for him. He forced Comadiroma to go and take his second where his third would normally go. So that puts a little bit of a longer distance between the natural expansion and the main. So if he has to come out and defend real quickly, he has to run all the way around here rather than just shooting back and forth between the main and the natural. So that's the advantage to blocking your opponent's natural expansion when it's Zerg. But it also does cost some money. So he's going to lose this 100 mineral pylon here, and he's also going to become potentially supply blocked as a result of it. But no, he's got a second pylon coming up pretty shortly, so if he does get blocked, it won't be for long. Back at home, the wall starts to form. He got a forge down and a gateway, and he's probably going to close off this whole gap here except for a zealot. And in the meantime, he puts 1 cannon down behind just to defend against a couple of Zerglings that are going to come and knock on the door. And like clockwork, here they come, and they're likely going to be warded away by that cannon. The Zerg back at home has taken his third base now where his natural used to be, having cleared out that pylon. So he'll be delayed a little bit just by having to move this base over here, but it won't be major. Queen coming out, gets his first inject. He's going to make another queen. Probably slide this first queen down to the natural so she can take over the duties here. The Protoss is looking in real good shape. Let's take a look at the unit count. Yeah, okay, so Protoss actually has 2 workers more than the Zerg despite being 1 base down. So that means that the Zerg has been spending his money elsewhere. Probably on all these... Okay, that's not Zerglings. I know he's making Zerglings. He's still making... Oh, I'm looking at the wrong tab like an asshole. So no, it's just getting those extra bases up has put him at a slight disadvantage economically for the moment, but he should bounce back quickly now that he's got 3 bases to produce drones from. Overlords sit here over the high ground where the Protoss can't see them, but they get to keep their eyes on everything. Same with this guy. Protoss researching weapons level 1 and warp gate technology out of the cybernetics core so he can turn these gateways into warp gates and warp in units instantly. He still only actually has the 1 gateway down, so we can look for him to add on a couple more in the near future. He'll probably put them down here once this pylon gets up. Both players just droning up right now, or probing up, making workers. A couple of Zealots are going to come in and harass this third base from the Zerg. We'll see if the Queen is going to be enough to force them away. She waddles back into the worker line so that they can join her. They get a really good surround on those two Zealots, and yeah, they don't have a chance there. Oh, but they did weasel their way out, and what were those drones doing? Oh, no, they kind of lost their path there. The Stalker comes in to join, and that's going to be a problem. The Stalker is, like I said in the last game, faster than just about every early game unit, so they can kite really well. And when you have things like Queens that are just horribly slow to begin with, they're deadly towards the Queens in the worker line. But I guess just one Stalker is not going to be enough, so he's going to move them away. We see some proxy pylons going around the map. MrFukutu will be able to warp into these and save his units the time of running all the way across the map when he can just plop them down pretty close to his opponent's base. We see Roach Warren coming up for Comadiroma, and also an evolution chamber, a second evolution chamber, so he'll be doing double upgrades. Still not working on that Zergling speed, which is pretty much a required buff. I'm not sure if he intended to skip that or if that was an accident. Okay, it was clearly an accident because here it comes right now. Back at home, +1 ground weapons is done for the Protoss, and he's now working on +1 ground armor. So he's going to have the upgrade advantage as well as the just generally a stronger unit advantage when it's Protoss versus Zerg. He's putting down some ballsy pylons here, and yeah, that was spotted early. He should have canceled it, but he didn't, and he's going to try and warp in on top of it. He does get 2 Zealots in. I don't know what they're going to be able to do here. We'll see what he's got planned. Oh, and they actually saved that pylon. The Queen didn't need to run away. That was silly. The Queen could have killed that pylon, would have been preventing these additional warp-ins coming in right now, but as it is, this worker line is going to be hit by 3 Zealots, and that Queen is also suspect to go down. But a Roach does pop out in a timely manner, as do the rest of his reinforcements, so 8 Roaches going to roll in here and clean that up, but that was still a reasonably dangerous attempt from MrFukutu. We see the pylon hasn't been taken down. It's like Comadiroma forgot that it was there. So he's free to warp into this pylon a second time. Oh, because I'm missing another hit here from... How many more is this? That was 5 or 6 Zealots come in and totally denied the third base. Beautiful job by MrFukutu. Even faked me out when I can see everything. So these proxy pylons here really paying off. 9 Roach is going to push back for a counterattack. Meanwhile, he's going to... Comadiroma, that is going to have to rebuild that third base, and all the while that he's only on 2 bases, that's a huge economic disadvantage for him because the Zergs require 1 extra base. So MrFukutu doing a great job of giving himself the advantage here. These Roaches are going to push in and knock on the front door where his Forge and Gateway wall is, but he's got an Immortal and a bunch of Stalkers here ready to intercept them, and those are all very strong against Roaches. The Roaches are going to be pushed back here. No reinforcements coming in to join. Oh, here they come. So another warp in here at this pylon that regenerated all of its shields since Comadiroma neglected to take it down. And so yeah, even more Zealots come in to harass this mineral line. Just constant harass. He's keeping Comadiroma on his hind legs here. Just defensive posture all day long because he doesn't know where the next rush is going to come from. But I guess he's had enough of it. Zergling speed is finished. Some Roaches are going to come in behind them and try and contest this third base, which MrFukutu is just putting down. Couple of Mortals, pack of Stalkers. He could even throw down some cannons here and be really well defended. The numbers advantage is definitely in the Zerg's favor, but that's kind of typical. Both players have a lot of money. MrFukutu is definitely on the economic advantage, I would say, by being up a base. He's been really aggressive with these Zealot warp-ins, and we just haven't seen that aggressiveness out of the Zerg player this game. So here they come, 4 more Zealots come to do the same thing again, and they're going to rack up some kills. There's nothing here to defend it, not even a Queen at this base, in fact. So yeah, he has to pull his Zerglings and his Roaches all the way back. Now he's going to commit these Zerglings foolishly to this third base of MrFukutu, and they're just going to be thrown away. There's a big army sitting there waiting to defend against that, so that went nowhere. However, MrFukutu's Zealots really putting in work. They cleared out just a ton of workers here and took down half the hatchery. Let's go ahead and look at units lost. How do I do units lost? That's not units lost. That's not units lost. That's for units lost. Oh, workers lost. There we go. Workers killed. Jesus Christ. Okay, so 9 workers killed from MrFukutu. That's not as many as I would have thought, honestly. But, okay, so we got some roaches now. Roach army coming in. Gonna take down this destructible debris here to prevent this choke off on the ramp. He wants to come up all at once and not be forced through this tunnel. So he does knock that down, but you know the roach's natural enemy in the environment is the immortal, and there's a whole bunch of immortals here in this big group. We've got a couple of sentries here for some force fields. One goes down, but not really well placed. But a good blink from these stalkers goes ahead and engages these roaches, forces them to kind of turn around and battle when maybe they don't want to. He will push them away. What have we got here? The Zerg's army count still growing. He's taken a 4th base. He hasn't quite populated it yet, but he's sitting at 175 supply versus the 126 supply of the Protoss opponent. Getting 24 Zerglings now, plus 1 ground carapace coming out. But it looks like we're going to see an air transition from the Protoss. He's making a Stargate somewhere. Is this our Stargate? Yeah. So we might see some Void Ray or some Phoenix pop out. But I think the big story here is going to be this big line of blue units moving down the map here. Going to have to get a cancel off on this 4th base for MrFukutu, or he's going to lose out on all that money. There we go. Does get a cancel. Does get 300 minerals back. Good amount of immortals here. I'm really impressed with how many immortals MrFukutu got out. Those are not cheap units. And they will make a great counter to these roaches. But we'll see if Comadiroma can get a good fungal growth with these infestors and lock the army down and get a surround. Looks like, speaking of surrounds, the front wall is wide open here for the Protoss, and Zerglings run right in. So they're going to totally remove the workers from the natural expansion and looks like the main expansion. Only 2 zealots here to help defend against this, but a whole bunch more back inside the natural expansion, but I think the damage has already been done. And while he's distracted him with this attack, here come these roaches back again for some more. But those immortals weren't pulled back to the main. They didn't fall for the ruse. They held steady. So the 3rd will continue to stand. Let's take a look at workers lost again now that I remember how to do it. 31 workers killed for Comadiroma. That is an incredible change. So if we look at the units count, the Protoss is down to 38 workers versus the 74 workers of his opponent. So the economic advantage just changed hands in a big way with that attack. And here we go. We have an engagement in the middle. Maxed out army of the Zerg is going to converge here on this Stalker army. Infestors pop out, and they're going to get some infested Terrans on the ground to help do some extra DPS. No fungal growths yet. There we go. There's the fungal growth I've been looking for. So he throws down all these infested Terrans and then locks the enemy down in place so he can't run away. And the Zerg, Comadiroma, is just going to clean this up beautifully. We'll see what kind of production MrFukutu has back at home. See how quickly he can replace that army, but he's at danger right now. I think, yeah, he's got some exposed 3rd base here. Exposed 3rd base. He's got nothing to push this back. These 2 zealots aren't going to do any good. Warping in 4 stalkers and 1 immortal's going to come join the fray. But that's a lot of roaches, my man. 1-1 roaches versus... Okay, well, the Protoss is on 2-2, so he has the upgrade advantage, but when your numbers are so far down, the upgrades can't win you losing fights. Good fungal growth down on all these workers. We're going to see if another fungal goes down behind them. Boom, boom, boom. And a little bit of rage coming out of MrFukutu here at the end. Zzz, make roaches herp a derp, derp, derp. He had a good advantage, MrFukutu did, for a good part of that game, and he managed to lose it at the end all by himself. That's not the Zerg's fault. So good job by Comadiroma. He wasn't phased by this early harass that came out of the proxy pylons here. He was taking damage, he was multitasking, and he bounced back and he got a win out of it. So good for him. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.